So we ready, Angie?
Yeah, we can go ahead and start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's get started. Welcome, everyone. This is our second webinar that is being sponsored by the Society of Petroleum Engineers Women in Hydraulic Fracturing Group. These are sort of unprecedented times that we're having to deal with, and hopefully we're all practicing social distancing and working from home, staying safe and healthy. So during these times, we thought it would be good to try to connect with everybody and have speakers come on. And today we have a great speaker. We've got Aaron Burton, and he's going to be talking about adjusting, moving forward, and finding purpose during these strange times. Before we get to Aaron, I want to introduce myself. I'm Karen Olson. I'm one of the co-chairs in Women in Hydraulic Fracturing. I'd like to also introduce my other co-chairs that are online. So we have Elizabeth Cambray, Angie Fenton, and Mary Van Donlin, who made this all possible. I couldn't have done this without their help for these webinars. And then before I introduce Aaron, our speaker, I just want everybody to understand for this today's webinar, it's going to last about 30 minutes, and that's with questions, right, Aaron?
Right.
And then we're going to go into what we're calling a virtual networking event. We did this last week for the first time. I was a little nervous about it. I must confess about it, but I found it to be awesome. So after Aaron speaks, Angie Fenton, one of my co-chairs, she's going to, in the chat box, which, Aaron, when you go to the slide, please. Yeah, so if you look at the bottom of your screen where you'll see this, it says chat, you can click on that and you can either ask questions here during Aaron's presentation, or you can go over to the Q&A and ask questions there, it doesn't matter. And we'll try to get to your questions and answer them. But at the end of Aaron's presentation, in that chat box, Angie is going to post a link. Everybody at the end of the webinar, just copy that link and then post it in a new browser page. So go open another new Chrome or Safari, post it there, and it's going to take you into a virtual chat room where there'll be 4 or 5 other people. And so you'll get to meet people that you've never met before. I did this last week. I met 3 other people. John Pantano from Montana, and he's got a really interesting EOR project, an exothermal process that I found very interesting. I met a gentleman with a consulting firm in Denver, and then I met a guy from Midland that's doing water treatment technology. Since then, I've had 2 or 3 meetings with those people to continue our conversation. So it's a great networking opportunity, which is sort of difficult to do in these days when we're all sitting home. So with that, oh, also you might see up on your screen a poll. So you can answer the poll. You can do multiple answers on it. And then at the end of the meeting, Angie's going to post the results for us to see that. We're going to be recording this webinar, and then also we're going to be streaming live. It's going to be, I believe, on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Is that right, Angie? Yeah, I'm seeing nods. Okay, so with that. Let me introduce Aaron. Aaron Burton.
Today, but Facebook, it will be there. It should be there now.
Oh, it should be there now. So
on
we're
Facebook,
streaming.
not on LinkedIn.
Oh, not on LinkedIn. So Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
Thanks, Angie.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, let me introduce Aaron Burton. His career has been focused on the completion of shales and similar unconventional plays that require multi-stage hydraulic fracturing. In 2015, Burton started his unconventional oil and gas training, or UOGT, and it's a company that specializes in training and consulting for unconventional multi-stage completions. UOGT provides in-house and video on-demand training courses. He's actually doing a lot of training with universities right now, I just found out, which I think is great. He also includes market studies, due diligence, and reports on specific tool segments and other projects. He also remains an active instructor and participates in industry organizations. Prior to starting his company, he was with Baker Hughes for nearly 8 years. And during his tenure there, he held the roles of field engineer, operations coordinator, applications engineer, business development manager, product line manager, and a variety of other roles focused on unconventional multi-stage completions. Aaron holds a BS degree in mechanical engineering from Mississippi State University. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Aaron. So Aaron, it's all yours.
All right. Thank you, Karen. Many thanks to Karen, Angie, Elizabeth, and Mary for organizing this. Thank you all for joining. If you're familiar with me, I normally do technical talks, and this is the furthest thing from a technical talk. It's hopefully light and humorous, as well as useful too. And, we're going to focus on, trying to deal with these strange times. Like Karen mentioned, stick around for the networking. It's a really cool way to do it in this virtual time. And, it's interesting because, one of the things I'm going to challenge you with today is to get out of your comfort zone and to share your knowledge if you're not already doing so. And this is a new format for me. I hate going on camera. The nerves are rattling right now. Luckily, I've been calming myself all morning, so at least I'm not coming out just spitting nonsense and not taking a breath in between words. And hopefully this will be useful. So don't be scared to step out of your comfort zone and put your knowledge out there. If you are interested in my technical stuff, you can find all of that at uog.training. My expertise is multi-stage completions for hydraulic fracturing. So the first thing I want to focus on today is don't forget to think objectively. This is, stay informed by all means, but remember, unprecedented times, which is what everyone is saying, that means that no one knows what's going to happen. And yet analysts and everybody else is predicting things with certainty. So there's a couple of thoughts I have on this. First, statistics. One of my favorite quotes on statistics from Ronald Coase, I like to paraphrase it in the form of, if you torture the numbers long enough, they'll tell you whatever you want to hear. And everything, especially with this virus and the oil and gas industry and the stock market, has happened so quickly that people are using statistics to tell whatever story fits their objective. Another one of my favorite quotes from Opinions, I'll make it a G-rated version. Everyone has one and everyone stinks, including mine. So always keep that in mind as well as we're listening to all these talking heads and people predicting the future. Correlation is not causation. So everyone is loving to throw fancy things on graphs right now. So I have some fancy graphs to show you. I didn't make them. It comes from a website called Spurious Correlations. But it's interesting. It ties into our industry well, because I think we make a lot of correlations without causation in our industry. And I'm really excited to see all the advanced data analytics coming down the pipe, because I think that'll help us avoid those correlations. We have a tendency to say, well, we did this and production is better, and assume that that's the case across the board. And the reality is it may have been 20 other variables that caused that, that production increase. So I think the stuff coming down the pipe will help significantly. So if you look at this chart here, there is a direct correlation to the number of people who drown by falling in a pool with the number of films that Nicolas Cage appears in. So it's, like I said, correlation is not always causation. This has nothing to do with each other, yet it makes a good graph and a fancy graph to display. Another one, per capita consumption of chicken correlates directly with total U.S. crude imports. Does that have anything to do with each other? No, not really, but you can see there's actually a direct correlation. So if you were to take this correlation, I mean, you could say that the new OPEC Plus strategy isn't to flood the market with oil, it's to flood the market with chicken. It would be a brilliant strategy if this correlation was actually true. Now, these are very strange times indeed. And, in our industry, I think we're struggling to find purpose, because during this crisis, we've been told the best thing we can do is sit at home and do nothing. And that's how we can help out. And that just doesn't register with us. That just doesn't register well with us. When a hurricane hits, there's obvious things we can go out to do. We're one of the most generous industries, and we like to get out there and help people recover. So while you're sitting at home doing nothing, do what you can first off. Let's cheer on our frontline heroes, the ones in the medical field, our truck drivers, our fast food workers, our grocery store workers, the ones that are keeping what's left going right now. Also support them in any way you possibly can. Our industry stepped up. Some of the companies are making PPE with 3D printers and a variety of other ways that they're helping out. Individuals are stepping up to sew masks. And, never underestimate the small things that you can do for them. So help with their families, their pets, their houses, provide food and supplies. Somebody in the medical field that's working 12-hour shifts, have them a meal when they get off work so they can eat, grab a shower, sleep, and go do it again. Walk their dog, make sure that their pets are fed, things like that. And also take care of your family, neighbors, and communities. Once again, never underestimate the small things you can do. Letting someone know that you're there for them can actually go a long way, even just a hello and a smile too. So, you know, there's a lot of situations out there where we don't know what's going on. Loneliness, depression, anxiety, abusive households, things like that. So that's why you can support them as well. Just letting them know that you're there for them, whatever they need. And also be proud of our industry's contributions. Can you imagine trying to fight this virus without oil and gas? Plastics are providing protection for our medical heroes on the front lines. Gasoline is getting them to and from work. Plastics are helping people survive this virus with ventilators and other medical equipment and supplies. Diesel and gasoline has helped keeping the supply chains running, keeping food in the grocery stores, keeping supplies going to the hospitals. Electricity and the internet is keeping the masses comfortable. A lot of us have the ability to work at home because of electricity. And it's also helping keeping the hospitals, grocery stores, and essential services going. Gasoline is also getting the food and supplies delivered to those essential services as well. And the list could go on and on. So what I'm trying to say here, if you have that feeling of uselessness because we've told that doing nothing is the best thing we can do, be proud of what you do on a daily basis. Because of what we do and the fact of providing affordable and reliable energy, we are directly supporting the medical front lines. And at least in my opinion, we're preventing a worldwide breakdown. Also, don't forget to enjoy the downtime. We're a very hardworking industry, 24/7, 365. And especially early in my career, I struggled to understand that and have that work-life balance, especially on the life end of it. Gotten better throughout my career, but take the time to work on that life part of it as well. With any luck at all, we'll be back to being overworked in no time. And also, be sure to stay on high alert. Our turn to save the world is coming. Just like the movie Armageddon predicted, at some point in time, it's likely that an asteroid is going to be barreling towards the Earth and threaten to wipe out the entire Earth. And just like the movie predicted as well, our industry is probably going to be there to save it. So if you haven't seen this movie, the premise is the asteroid's coming. It's going to destroy the world for sure. And they get a bunch of drillers. They give them a fancy workover rig, a fancy workover rig that NASA gave them, a tricone bit. They drilled to depth in the asteroid. They threw a nuke down it. They fractured the asteroid and saved the world. And that movie was from the late 90s. And let me tell you, we've gotten a lot better at fracturing rocks since the late 90s. So one of the things we desperately need in our industry right now is jobs. Layoffs are going. So I have a proposal that I think would give oil and gas a job stimulus package. While all of our drillers and fracturers are laid off work, the United States Space Force is out recruiting. I think that makes for a perfect combination to create the best group of fracking astronauts that you've ever seen in your life. So when we're there, when our time comes to save the world, we'll be there, and we have to take this threat seriously. After all, this is what wiped out the dinosaurs. All right, so back to the seriousness. So in my opinion, oil and gas is here to stay for a long time. I know it's frustrating. Many of you are thinking about leaving the industry, but don't forget the importance. And don't forget that our downfall has been predicted multiple times. At first, we were going to run out of oil, and then we were going to be replaced and still are going to be replaced in the future. Now, if we find the right supply of energy, then it only makes sense that we evolve and we replace oil and gas for sure. But are we there? Not even close. We could have major technological advances that speeds this up, but who knows? That's anybody's guess. As far as I can tell, we're going to be here for a really long time. And also, if you go to any study that talks about impoverished nations and how to help them out, how to bring them out of poverty, at least the ones I've seen always have two things consistently in common: affordable and reliable energy and education. And a lot of times those go hand in hand. People get educated and figure out affordable and reliable energy, or someone brings in affordable and reliable energy and the people get educated. The bottom line, in my opinion, affordable and reliable energy from multiple sources around the world is good for humankind, and oil and gas is currently that best solution. So my thoughts on being laid off and how to handle it. So I wrote an entire article on this, and by the way, there's a lot of hyperlinks, especially after this part. You will get the PDF afterwards, so you can see these and follow up more. So I'm going to hit the highlights of this article, but I won't spend a ton of time because the because that article is out there. Oops, sorry. There we go. All right, so my suggestions. The first big thing is to shift your mindset. And the way that I found when I got laid off in 2015, the way I shifted my mindset and shifted it relatively quickly, first and foremost, don't take it personally. It's an accounting decision, nothing more, nothing less. And I think that's easier to accept in these times where it's just so strange because seemingly overnight, frac crews were going down, drilling rigs were going down. And when we're not working, I mean, what are companies supposed to do? They don't have a choice. So don't take it personally. Your boss wasn't out to get you. Your colleagues were not out to get you. And shift that mindset to whatever positive spin you need to adjust from that. Also, it helped me a lot looking back with gratitude. I decided to run forward and start my own company. So as I'm developing my content, I already knew this, but it really hit home because as I'm developing the content, I had a lot of memories and places, people, and everything else. By no means was I a self-made man, and all of my knowledge, I was a middle-class kid from Mississippi, went and got a mechanical engineering degree, and went into an industry that I knew nothing about. So all of my knowledge, literally all of my knowledge about oil and gas has come from other people. So look back at your experience, your relationships, your knowledge gained, and be grateful for that. Really quickly, but it's very important, know the value of your intellectual property. Don't give away your IP. Don't accept contracts that are not mutually beneficial. If my policy with contracts, if my gut says that this is not right, I walk away from it. And the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office actually has a lot of good information on this on their website. Now, the other three things that we'll deep dive on here: keep learning, network, even in a virtual networking world, and keep your head up high and do something bold. So first and foremost, I want to highlight what SPE has out there for you, especially if you're a member. There's a ton of free learning resources out there. You have your SPE webinars. A lot of these even give you continuing education credits. So take use of the time and get those certificates, gain that knowledge. If you haven't seen, our Distinguished Lecturer Series is also available. So the distinguished lecturers that we're supposed to be going out and presenting right now that can't, they've recorded it and putting it on the website, and you can find that here. Once again, a lot of hyperlinks going forward. You don't have to scramble to write these down. You will get a PDF so that you can get to these websites easily. SPE also has a YouTube channel. Membership's not required for that. They also have a podcast. Trent Jacobs does a great job focusing on the current technologies and the current issues there. Also, membership's not required for that. And then, of course, you have your JPT magazine. So the JPT team, they focus a lot on the most relevant papers, the most relevant issues in the industry. And I find that as a great resource. Even if you can't make the conferences, if you can't get the papers, a lot of that stuff can be found in the magazine. And stay tuned for more. Just before we went live, the SPE Stay Strong video series went live. So you can download the SPE app, go under resources, and you can see that video series. And I'm really excited about this initiative. I was part of that as well, or at least contributed content to it. They've got some great volunteers that put together that. And thank you to all those volunteers. I think this is going to be a fantastic initiative for our industry. So there's also a lot of resources outside of SPE as well. So by no means is this a comprehensive list. And I apologize if I left you off, especially if I know you personally. It was not intentional if I did, but this is just the ones that came to the top of my head. And there's a lot more out there too. So first off, I have my website out there. I have a short course for free. Saga Wisdom also has 1 week access to their RTA short course as long as you sign up by April 24th. Stanford University also has a geomechanics class that they put up on edX. This one's a little bit, so you do actually kind of take it in person. So they do have certain start dates. So check it out to see when the next one starts. And edX, the website edX in general has a lot of different courses that are very relevant to our industry. So geosciences and data sciences, and a lot of those are free as well. So take this time to go learn Spotfire, data analytics, things like that. Boost your resume. If you're bored and sitting at home, don't just waste the time. Go out there and improve yourself overall and learn. There's also a lot of casual learning, like on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. Oilfield Basics has a YouTube channel. They do a good job of covering a lot of different ground of the basics with oil and gas. Anderson Thompson, they have a lot of stuff on RTA, rate transient analysis. And Pio Petro goes through a wide variety of topics as well. And there's a lot of live learning out there, and some of these are new. Some of these go live and they record, and then some of them post afterwards as well. So you have the hashtag VDOR Locksmith on LinkedIn. So if you put that in the search bar, you'll find their live shows and pre-recorded. You also have the Pay It Forward networking programs. This is a group that I've been involved in for many years now. It's made up of volunteers that have lost their jobs, and the entire purpose is to network and to learn and to share your knowledge. So I highly recommend you checking out their website. They're doing live classes every other week on Fridays, I believe. And Digital Wildcatters Live. So this is a relatively new show with Jake and Colin. They go live every Thursday evening, I believe. And it's an interesting format to check out. And then podcast. You also have a lot of podcasts out there. First off, you have the Oil and Gas Global Network. Mark LaCour and his team. They've got a lot of great podcasters. Justin Page, Sarah, and many others that I'm leaving off. And these shows that I have here, that's just scratching the surface, and they have a lot more coming out. So check them out. Oilfield Basics also has a podcast. Derek and his team go through a lot of the basic stuff, a lot of the interesting stuff in the field. The Oil and Gas Startups podcast, Colin and Jake go through a lot of the startups, the things that are happening in the industry. Flipping the Barrel, Jamie and Macy go through a lot of different topics there. I just found this one as everything happened. I've listened to 3 or 4 episodes, and it's been great. The Drill Down with Richard Spears and John Spears, very informative about what's going on in the industry, what's happening. And then Hot Take of the Day. I also just recently found, as all this happened, listened to a couple of episodes with David Ramsden Wood, and they've been great episodes as well. And I know there's other podcasts out there for sure. And then newsletters. If you want newsletters every week, every day, there's no shortage there either. Spears Insider, API Smart Brief, Westwood Insight, Tudor Pickering and Holt Energy Tech, Digital Wildcatters, The Roundup, Rystad Energy, World Oil Daily News, Hart Energy Newsletters, Rig Zone Daily News. And this is just the free resources. And what the point I'm trying to make here is there's enough free resources out there currently that I don't think you could digest it all, even in this downturn. So don't use the downturn, staying at home, as a reason that you can't keep learning and moving forward. Networking in the virtual world is very different for us, for sure, but it can be done, and it can be done effectively. First and foremost, reach out to your current contacts and check in on them. Start the conversation. It's always great to catch up and remind people you're out there and what you're doing. Participate in these types of events. These are great events, and stay for the virtual networking afterwards. Use social media. You can reach out to strangers to see how you can collaborate, schedule a phone call or a video chat for now, and then meet up when this is all over. I have no fewer than 10 to 12 lunches already scheduled for when we were able to go back out. And share your knowledge. So that's my final piece of advice here. This is my recommendation on doing something bold and finding purpose by sharing your knowledge. Doing this helps keep your colleagues moving forward and with learning. It also keeps our incoming talent that's in school right now excited and interested in our industry. It's been a tough 5 years for sure. But like I said, I don't think we're going anywhere, and we must keep that talent coming into the industry to be successful. And these two alone really helped find my purpose quickly in this situation. So I was lucky in the fact that I was scheduled to speak at 5 universities this spring and actually this month, but obviously all of that's canceled. One university in particular, Penn State, the students were counting on that class for an elective credit. And so what I did is we adjusted really quickly. I got them set up on my online class, my video on demand class that I was working on already. They took it. We jumped on a webinar for 3 days on a Saturday, an hour and a half. And this past Saturday had 42 students graduate from that class. And some of those were relying on that course to graduate. Now, if that's not enough for you, why else should you do it? It's to build your brand, also known as content marketing. This has been primarily my entire strategy, content marketing. So whether you're starting a business like me or going back in the corporate world, then you should still do it, because I've received job offers because people find my content. And I've also had content bring clients to me. So whether you like it or not, you're marketing yourself right now. So build your brand and share your content. Some of you may say, well, that's expensive and it requires a lot of equipment. I'm going to tell you, don't buy into the marketing hype from microphone, video, and other equipment sales. Here are my fancy recording studios here. I pulled a dresser in from one bedroom, pulled it in front of the window behind me. And if I'm recording outside, I use my outdoor table, the chair, and a box I found in my garage. So get creative. It doesn't have to be expensive. And likely you already have your recording equipment with your phone and your computer. Also, there's no shortage of free platforms to display your knowledge. Number one, YouTube, the number 2 search engine in the world, hands down. Number 1 is Google. Number 2 by a long shot is YouTube. The rest of social media has free platforms. You also have the Pay It Forward networking program that I mentioned earlier. You can go to their website, and if you want to share it with your colleagues, you can submit your subject matter to them. And also podcasting. I've taken a lot of courses on podcasting. I know enough to be dangerous, but and I think you could probably get away with doing it for free or relatively cheap. But I'm going to let the experts really answer that. So OGGN, one of the companies I talked about earlier, they do have a webinar on April 30th about podcasting, and especially podcasting in the energy industry and building your brand that way. So I was sure to I was sure to go ahead and sign up before I let you guys know to make sure I secured my spot. All right, so don't overthink it and don't underestimate your reach. My first video blog was a 5-minute overview of plug and perf. Keep in mind, 5-minute video. Took me 2 days to record, no fewer than 100 takes. And even when I finally got the final product, I didn't like it. I didn't think it was good enough, but I finally just jumped off the cliff. And when I say I didn't think it was good enough, I'm talking about things in my head like, this is garbage, people are going to hate it. And I finally just crushed that mentality, put it out there, and here's the results. So that one video has been seen over nearly 20,000 times, watched almost 1,000 hours. And this little warning right here from YouTube is saying that those numbers are probably low and in some cases really low. So don't underestimate what you can do with a free YouTube channel. My channel overall, 68,000 views, nearly 4,000 watch hours. That's 234,000 minutes watched in over 100 countries. And the additional benefit and why I love doing it and what really keeps me going forward with it, a lot of the students have come up to me throughout the years and told me how they've made use of this video or these videos. They go into their summer internships or their new job right after college, and these videos help them with their learning curve. So that in itself gives me a lot of purpose with those videos. Make no mistake, it's not easy. So I'll try to give you something of what to expect. First and foremost, a 5-minute video definitely doesn't take 5 minutes. Even if you're confident enough to do it one time and not edit it, you still have to go post it and everything else. So it is more time consuming than you probably think. Social media is also a fickle thing. So my advice, don't put your self-worth into this. Algorithms control who sees it. Likely, if you're not getting traction, it's the algorithms, it's not your content. It doesn't happen overnight or on the first attempt for sure. So if you get one video out and it doesn't get a lot of traction, don't give up, keep putting it out there and keep going. Everyone's online right now too. So you have a lot of competition. It's kind of interesting because I've been putting stuff on my YouTube channel that's brand new material that I've never presented live in person before, and it's very slow to gain traction. But I also realized the algorithms are overwhelmed because there's so much new content out there. So I continue putting it out there, it'll gain traction, and in several years, a lot of people will see it and find it useful. So focus on the keywords, focus on making useful content, and eventually the algorithms will pick it up. And put it out there, set your alerts, and forget about it. Don't refresh your screen every 30 minutes to see if somebody watched it or somebody liked it or anything else. My strategy is that I release my videos, put it out all over my channels, and I go on an hour-long or more walk. And just forget about it. Check on it occasionally, set my alerts if I get a comment and I need to respond, but don't dwell on it. And it's very important. Now is the time to do it. People are more forgiving than ever right now. So ease into it. You'll get a lot less critics. Keep in mind, nobody can go get their hair cut. You know, the basic things that we like to do every day, stuff like that. So you can go out and ease into it. Stop worrying about what you look like. Stop worrying about what you sound like. Stop worrying about your accent. Record your content, get it out there. And you don't have to put your face in it either. If you go look at my videos, my video blog anyway, my face never appears in it. So don't worry about it. Excuse me. So I challenge you to go forth and build your brand. So that's all for me. I'll hand it back over to the committee, but thank you for joining. I hope you found it useful. Stick around for the virtual networking. Hang in there, stay safe, take care, and I look forward to seeing you all soon in person. If you need have any questions, you can reach out to me. I'm easy to find online, even though it creeps me out. I'm more of a private guy than that. But doing what I do, people have to be able to contact me. So it's really easy to find me out there. So I'll pass it back to the committee so that we can go to Q&A, and then we'll do the virtual networking afterwards. Thank you. Take care. Stay safe.
Okay. Aaron, thank you so much for a great presentation and just some great advice. It really hit me too on the things you talked about when you get laid off. For example, not to take it personally, because I know that's the first thing that happens, right? We all take it personally, like, what did I do wrong, or what should I have done differently, or, oh, if I'd just done this or that person never liked me, and then you're mad at somebody. But, in this day and age, is just business decisions being made, companies just trying to hang on and stay solvent. So you can't take it personally. The gratitude is important too.
Yeah.
Right. You just think about all the things you've learned, and over those years that you were working wherever it was. I know I was recently let go from Southwestern Energy, and I have a lot of gratitude for everything I've learned while I was working for them. And I look at it that I have gained so much knowledge, and it helps identify who I am in the industry because of working there. So one question that I have for you, Aaron, is I see you recommending, build your brand, do a lot of networking as best you can in sort of this virtual networking time. But what else can people do that have been recently let go to find that next job? You have any key thoughts that you would recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've talked to multiple people. First and foremost, take the time you need to readjust your mindset to want to be back out there. You don't have to go search for a job right away, or at least a lot of us are fortunate enough that we don't have to. So if you're in that position, take a little bit of time, readjust your mindset, whatever that takes, and then go search for the job. Now, during that time, though, and I know a lot of people that are doing this, and this is, in my opinion, the exact right strategy. You don't have to be looking for a job to stay networked and plugged in. So keep doing events like this, keep up with your contacts, and do it that way. So you don't have to go and find that, or hopefully a lot of people are in a position where they don't have to find the job immediately. And so take your time, figure out what you want to do. And at least for me, I think it was about 2 weeks in, right after my layoff, it hit me one day. I'd done all the resume things, I'd been doing the networking, and I was just like, man, I can do whatever I want to do now. What do I want to do? So if you can find yourself in that position, think about it and figure out what you want to do.
Very good. So we did have a question from Farouk Ali from U of H. Good talk. How do you define layoff?
So I would define layoff as just an outright severance, period. So no more benefits, things like that. You do have certain versions like furloughs where they're taking a reduction in pay or no pay and still get benefits. What I'm referring to as layoff is just an outright, we're sorry, we can't hire you, or we can't have you anymore. And so they let you go, period. Yeah.
I guess there's probably quite a few students out there too these days that are about to graduate,
right? And
we're hoping to, have a job. And I don't know how many companies have, backed out on new hires coming in.
Right.
It's got to be tough for them. What do you have any special thoughts?
Yeah.
For somebody that hasn't worked in the industry but is just graduating, or?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's tough, and by all means, do what you have to do in the short term to take care of yourself and your family. I've seen some of the layoff numbers. I haven't seen how many offers have been retracted yet. I hope companies won't retract too many, but it is likely that it'll happen at least some. So what I would focus on is how important this industry is. I mean, especially if you're graduating right now, you obviously wanted to be in the industry. Ride it out. It will come back. With any luck, this will be a V-shaped downturn where, the decline is fast, but then the comeback is fast. And take this as a lesson going in. I was very fortunate to a certain extent during the V-shaped downturn in 2009. All of a sudden, we had to lay off someone. And, it just hit me like, okay, this is a cyclical industry. So right from that point, I started preparing financially and everything else. So I focused on living within my means, making sure that I could ride it out if it did happen to me. And sure enough, it did.
Yeah, well, those are good points. I guess some of the things I've said from students that haven't been able to find a job in the past is, be willing to take a job that just gets your foot in the door.
Absolutely.
In the oil industry.
Yep.
If you really, want to be in the oil industry and you have that passion for it, be willing to accept a job. I have a good friend, and at one point he was a high-level CEO, and he left that job for certain reasons, and next thing you know, he was willing to be a well site supervisor sitting out and watching frac jobs.
Right. Yeah, and I've had a lot of friends and colleagues that did that as well. They graduated, couldn't find a job, so they went out and worked on a frac crew. And,
Right.
I worked in the field as a field engineer, and I can go ahead and tell you, my advice, don't ever think you're above going in the field, and nobody can ever replace that. If you can put that on your resume, it adds a lot more respect, especially down the line when you can talk about it, when you can talk about your experiences in the field. And you know what? It's funny because some of the ones that graduated petroleum engineer, even a master's program, they went out in the field thinking that it was temporary, and then they stopped looking because they actually kind of enjoyed it. So you never know. Be open to opportunities.
Yeah, that's great. So I agree with that. I think field experience is so critical if you're going to be in the oil and gas industry. And I know my first job was working for a frac company. The Western company no longer exists, but I can still think back to those days and realize how much I learned just, being out on location. So, okay, with that, I think we're going to end the webinar. I think I got did I get all the questions, Angie?
Yeah, did you answer?
Oh, so we have one quick question, another question. So for students in the last semester in the university, should we try to send our CVs now to the company's websites, or should we wait till we graduate?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I don't know if I'm the best one to answer that just because I haven't been involved in recruiting with the company in a while. The only thing I'll say is it never can hurt. I will say this, don't necessarily pester people about it. Approach them, let them know your skill sets, let them know you're available. And the other thing too is if you see an opportunity and you're not technically qualified for it, apply for it anyway. A lot of those metrics, don't let things like that hold you back. Rules are meant to be broken. So if you see an opportunity, pursue it.
Yeah. I would say go ahead and send your CVs now. But it's just hard though. Quite honestly, the best way I've learned, at least for students, is through their career centers there on the universities. When the companies come to recruit, that's your best chance of, getting that job. The other thing is maybe pursue, stay in school for another semester, take another class or something and delay graduating if you can afford it. Yeah. Or maybe take some business classes during this time period.
Right.
I know I went back and got my master's and delayed graduating basically for another year and ended up getting a job with an operator when I got out. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made out of my whole career was going back and getting that master's. I'd worked a couple of years, went back and got the master's, and made all the difference in the world. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and so what everybody should see in the chat. Angie posted her cell. Angie, do you want to explain anything yourself about what we're going to do?
Sure. Aaron, if you can go back to those slides real quick. So what's going to happen is wait until I'm done discussing because I haven't even started that other the other meeting yet. As soon as I leave here, I will start it. But that's the link for it. So go ahead and copy that. You can either start the Zoom app or just go to your browser and type in zoom.us. And you can start it from there as well, or you can just copy that link and paste it into your browser window. So either way, The meeting ID is that 788 number. So you can just do that through the app. And then once you're in there, you should automatically go into a break room where you should be in there with 4 to 5 other people. If you're not, just hit on the bottom right-hand corner. Aaron, go to the next slide. Maybe the next one. Okay, so you're going to get this first when we leave this webinar. You're going to get this. You make sure you hit yes. Sometimes it's hidden behind the screen, so you got to do that. It'll take you then to the next meeting. Okay, next slide, Aaron. Okay, there's my cell phone number. There's Elizabeth's cell phone number. When you're in that break room, in the bottom right-hand corner, there's red leave breakout room. So if you're in a room with no one in it, hit that leave breakout room. It will take you back into the main room. I will be there, and I will be able to reassign you to another room if that's a possibility. So we can do that. I think that's all that I have.
Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and and when you go in these are questions, right? To maybe just start the conversation.
Yeah, just questions to think about. I will also have those posted in each one of the chat boxes so you guys can see that as well. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and head over to that other meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and head out, and I will see you guys there.
Me too. So I'm going to go ahead and head out. Everybody head out and go open another browser, and we'll see everybody shortly.